Life gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice. And what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I'm super excited, as always, to be here with you for another episode of The Breakthrough Show today. We have an amazing show. You know, last week on the show, we were a little more entrepreneurial, a little more professional and, you know, down to business. And today we have a returning guest to the show that's going to be starting off. And we're also going to be talking with my special guest today, Sylvia Moth, who is a light worker, and she's also the author of Angels of New York, which is a fantastic, it's almost like a coffee table style book, which has amazing pictures of different statues of angels around New York City and what the angels mean, and how you can bring more angelic energy and flavor to your life. So be sure to stay tuned and listen to the interview with Sylvia Moss coming up. But up first on the show today, we are welcoming back a returning guest to The Breakthrough Show who's always inspirational. She always comes with so many amazing breakthrough moments and lessons for us. Please welcome back to the show, Katarzyna Stomska. Kat, welcome back.
Hey, nice to see you back, and nice to be back in the show.
It's so weird to say it's nice to see you again, because we actually see each other quite often.
Yes.
At least online.
Yes, but it's nice to be, to see you again on the show.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you back, and you have some big news that you're going to share with us a little bit later in the show. But I want to start off today. Share with us something that's bringing you joy in your life right now.
I know it might surprise some, but I think that the whole situation with which we found ourselves in, allowed me to have more time with my two boys, and that time allowed me to also appreciate our walks in nature, appreciate being outside, and actually appreciate the interaction. So anytime I get to interact with people right now is certainly something which brings me joy, and of course nature.
Yes.
I had a big clear out in my garden, so my garden is, I now have a chance to actually design it the way I want to, and make sure that it actually brings, anytime I look through the window, I can actually something, something which really, brightens my day, no matter the weather, especially when Scotland is known for the rainy, the rainy land.
Right. I know. Well, I love that you talked about, really having that gratitude for everything that has come to be the way it is with the current world situation, because we've talked about it on the show those last couple of months. I would have never pictured in creating the idea of this season that the world would be in the kind of state that it's in right now. And, I think it can be so easy for people to go down the rabbit hole of what's wrong and what's not going well and what's happening in a negative light. And what I would love to see from talking about joy on this show and on Project Joy podcast, and even on Ask Crystal and Rewriting Reality with Shiraz, on all of the programs here on the Breakthrough Show page, I would love to see it be just as easy to think about the things that we're grateful for and the things that are going right. And so I love that you can see that, and that those things are bringing you joy. How are your boys handling everything, with the world going on the way it has been?
I think right now my older son struggled at the beginning of the year because he is in the last year of, I would say, elementary school. He's going to high school in August. So this has been a hugely impactful year for him, and knowing that we had to cut it short almost like 5 months into the school year was a bit of a shock, and then we were restricted of going. We couldn't go to our favorite places. So he struggled. My younger son, not so much, but we managed to find, ways to occupy ourselves. I found great books which I'm going to share outside the breakthrough show, for like keeping their minds busy. And you know, I got them on Amazon and never expected, you know, they're only a few dollars, and you know, never expected that they will have, you know, so much impact. But it is like mental math games, and you know, because both of my kids are, you know, mental for kind of in that way for maths, you know, and learning. So yeah, so I guess we just learned to accept that nothing is gonna be the same, nothing is gonna be normal, and as it stands right now, one of them will be 2 days in school, the other will be 1 day in school. For, you know, my older son will be only 1 day in school, and it's like another big year because it's first year of high school, you know. It's kind of all the emotional changes, but I think they are, you know, they are all okay knowing that there is plenty of people who support them, you know. And,
I think you know, kids are so resilient, and anytime we go through something, whether it's in our personal family lives or it's something like we see in the world, a global issue, we really can take so many lessons and watch what the children do, watch how the children respond, because they bounce back so quickly. They are very creative in how they come up with how to handle things. And they really, I try to remember that any of these things happening really help them to shapes what kind of adult they're going to be as well. And it may be difficult in the moment to deal with all of the things that we are on the global scale, but ultimately, how much resilience are they going to have as adults, because they learned, and they're watching us too. They're watching what the world is doing and learning how to come up with great new ways to do things. And I think that they're going to be better humans, or better adults for that, right?
Yeah, I think this generation, like my son's generation, I think as much as the technology is, everything is infused so much in technology. I think it comes down to the choices they make. And I really love, I watched a short video clip from Gary Vee, which I'm sure, you know, you and many people in the audience of the show know, when he was asked by one of the parents about self-esteem, and his answer of the self-esteem was, you as parents build their self-esteem. So, you know, and I do totally agree with that, because it is the parents. Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat will not provide self-esteem. And even, yes, they can infuse the so-called comparison game in children. However, it is up to us parents to install certain viewpoints on, you know, in children, making sure that they do really know. And yes, resilience comes, you know, that they are not only resilient in a physical sense, you know, to pain, like physical pain, but also resilient into ever-changing, the fact that there will be always somebody to judge them, there will be always somebody to compare themselves to, or somebody who will compare themselves to them, you know. So it is, and I think teaching children to make the right informed choices about how to and what technology to use will certainly be the factor, you know, will only boost their creativity. So that
Absolutely.
that is what I think, and what having the conversations with my boys around technology, you know, pretty much constantly, whether that's due to the current situation or in general, you know, internet safety, because they are getting older, you know, and I'm one of those parents who allows them to play with, you know, with other children online, you know, because I do believe, you know, there is no harm in that if you kind of handle it well.
Right.
But, you know, but I do know that it's more important than ever to actually allow children to make choices and tell children and teach children where to find the right information, so they can then make their informed choices. So.
Absolutely. And I loved that you talked about creativity, because I know that being creative is something that's really important to you in your life. How has being creative helped you in your life, in whether it's the current world circumstances or when you're going through difficult times?
I think I found out that creativity, especially creative writing, has allowed me to cope. It became kind of a coping mechanism. I do get the idea of journaling, but journaling not necessarily works for everyone. And there is so many different types of journaling that unless you try a few ways, you're not necessarily gonna find the right way. And then of course, because like within art, there is, you've got painting, you've got, videos, you've got creative videos, you've got drones, which have become more and more popular, and the footage, they can create. To me, poetry I've realized a couple of days ago that poetry has been something I've used since I was about 7 years of age, but I did not understand it as a coping mechanism until very recently. And this is something, I see the emotions, and especially when you are an empath, or when you kind of see the words, the written words, you can then, I do believe that poetry is one way of relating to people,
Right?
but also is a tool to give you a different perspective on, on certain emotions you are feeling. Because let's face it, even whether you are a child or an adult, naming and knowing your emotions can be, and describing your emotions can be equally difficult. Sometimes we don't learn it, and there is plenty of emotions which can be described in a similar way. Although depending on a circumstance, they will of course be different. And the response to the same emotion by two people could be completely different. So this is why being creative, or even another way I'm creative is, my red lipstick on my mirror. That's for affirmations, because I have only one mirror in my house, and that's at the entrance hall, so I cannot miss it. And I've, recently run out of my red lipstick, but I got a new one, so there will be an update for the affirmation. As joking, of course, aside. So, yes, to me, creativity has always been a huge part of my life, but it was like with everything else, a trial and error. Like drawing is not so much to me, unless I'm given an object and actually I copy. Then yes, I would say I can copy, a still image, but that is about it. I've always struggled with, being told to imagine something.
Right.
Even when it comes to, visualize, like people say, visualize 5 minutes a day in the morning. It's not something I can do. I can do. Yeah. I struggle with it, because it's not. I struggle with visualizing or seeing an image on demand, like on command. It's not something I can do right just yet. I can do, when I'm inspired, then it just flows. So yes, and there is times when I'm inspired to be creative.
Well, I love how being creative and creating can not just inspire you and help you, but it can also inspire and help other people through the things that you create. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show. So you're going to come back at the end, right? And you're going to share the big news that you have.
Yes, I will certainly share the big news.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be back in just a minute with our special guest today, Sylvia Moss, and we'll talk more with Kat in the end. We'll be right back for more of The Breakthrough Show. Hey, Jessica Dugas here, creator, producer, and host of The Breakthrough Show. We have big goals here at the show in the desire to change the world one Breakthrough Show episode at a time. And honestly, we couldn't do it without you. We want to take this moment to give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters for helping us to not only expand the show, but spread its message far and wide. If you're not a supporter yet, we would love to have you. You can choose any tier with tons of benefits at patreon.com/The Breakthrough Show. We can't wait to have you part of our Breakthrough Show family. And now back to the show. Welcome back to The Breakthrough Show. My special guest today is a visionary, She's a crystalline vibrational sound healer, which I'm really excited to ask her about, and a transformational activator with an international healing practice. We need more of what she does in the world right now. She's also the author of a beautiful book that I own that always reminds me of growing up in New England, called Angels of New York. Everyone, please welcome to the show my new friend, Sylvia Moss. Sylvia, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm so pleased to be here.
I'm so glad to finally have you on here. When we met, and I'm using my air quotes for those of you that are listening on podcast right now, you were on Chris Burns' show, and Chris is a friend of the Breakthrough Show as well. And I just immediately was like, I want to be her friend because she's so calming.
Oh, that's good to hear. I need to know that so that I can calm down.
Isn't that funny how we can be a source of calm and peace to other people, but sometimes we have trouble with that ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's my great learning in this life, you know, I calm down and other people calm so that it calms me. You know, it's this round connection, this circle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us, Sylvia, to start out today, what's something in your life that's bringing you joy right now?
Oh, well, it's strange to say this, but many things. And it's not that I'm being in denial, but there are many things that bring me joy. And I think, you know, it's like your children, like you have 6 children. So it's like my children. I hate to favor one or the other. What brings me the greatest joy, I got a chill, so that must be the truth, are the angels. I was started to say my angels because they're not my angels. It's the angels that I work with. And I did a Facebook Live, I guess it was Thursday, and I've been doing them once a week for a while, and then I'll do it in a different way. It's called Angel of the Week, and each week I pick a different angel, or that angel tells me who wants to be the angel of the week, and we talk about that angel and what that angel means, and I have a quote about that angel, and then I do a meditation. And last Thursday, the meditation was so stunning that when I finished, I wasn't in tears, but it was that tear of joy, and I just started screaming thank to the angels that were doing, thank you, thank you, thank you, because they just gave me this beautiful journey to take people on. And so that really brings me a lot of joy. And then the other thing is crystal singing bowls. They just, you know, I can just chime a bowl and just ripples, the sound just ripples through me. And it just brings me joy. And it's not like jumping up and down, ha, ha, ha joy, but sometimes it is. But most of the time it's just this, oh, that shimmer, and I just smile. So that's a long answer to your question.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's good. I think there's so many things that bring us joy. And one of the things that I've talked to people about recently is that when we're going through something as a collective, and there's something that is a really heavy energy, and even people who aren't, you know, don't consider themselves spiritual or what have you, there can almost feel like this pressure when someone asks you, how are you doing? There's almost feels like this pressure to say, oh, I'm bad too. You know, I'm having a hard time too, because I think there's almost a little guilt there of saying things are really good right now.
Definitely. I feel that a lot sometimes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, did you know growing up that this was the kind of work that you were going to be? Were you like sitting around the dinner table as a child going, I'm going to be an international healer when I grow up?
No, far from it. My original plan was I was going to be a fashion designer. I was going to go to college. It's so funny how our mind works. I was going to go to college. I won several awards of making dresses and the patterns and the design in high school and in 4-H, you know, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm from Covington, Kentucky, and at that time there was a department store called Chilito's in Cincinnati, which was across the river, and it's now a condominium. But I went there and I worked in the fabric department, and I won a contest of making this design of this dress, which I will never forget, and I remember every day of making it. And so I went to college and I studied fashion design, and I started taking a lot of theater courses. And in my junior year, the beginning of my junior year, my speech teacher and theater director said, "Have you changed your major?" And I said, "No. What was I supposed to?" Or, I was kind of confused by his question. And he said, "Well, you've got all A's in your theater courses, and your other courses aren't doing so well." So I said, "Oh." And he said, and this is very rare, I think. I just got another chill. Very rare in the 1950s. This was about 55 by this time, I guess. I'm dating myself. Very rare for someone to just a college professor, no less, to discourage you from going to college.
Right.
And
right.
he said, if you want to be in the theater, he said, don't waste your time here. He said, go to New York. Go study in New York. He said, you got what it takes. Go do it. I went, oh. And so I did. And my mother helped me, and I got a partial scholarship to the American Theater Wing, which is the organization that gives a Tony Award for Broadway shows every year. The school doesn't exist anymore, but it was a great, great institution, and they had all the best directors teaching, and it was an amazing training. And so I went to New York to be an actress.
Wow.
And I did some shows and commercials and, the usual. And then I got married and gave it all up and yada, da, da, da. And when I was in the midst of getting divorced, I was a photographer. And I had this great photography career and yada, da. And one day I went to this church to take pictures of this church. And they had this gorgeous choir, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and they were practicing and yada, da, da. And I'm in the back, and this man comes over and says, "Do you sing?" And I said, well, I didn't want to commit to anything. And I said, well, I used to, but I don't do that anymore. He said, well, come and audition. We're doing this great big gala and yada, yada. We need voices. He said, I think you would be good. So long story short, I joined the church. I joined the healing service because they had a healing service, and it was a Sunday service. And they said, we're looking for new people to be on the healing team for the healing service on Thursdays. Anyone interested? And so the next day I called them up. I said, what is all this about? Tell me about it. I did. And then a friend of mine a year later said, I'm taking this course with this wonderful woman. I think you'd be really great. And she lives right around the corner from you. And she needs somebody to run her office. She's publishing a book. And her name was Barbara Brennan. She's very famous now. She has several books called Hands of Light. Mm-hmm. So I interviewed with her. She hired me on the spot. We fell in love with each other. I worked for her for 3 months, and her book came out. She didn't need me anymore, and I joined her healing school. And the rest is...
It's amazing how...
Totally changed my life.
Do you feel like your family, because like you said, in the time that you were in college, like even now I see it where, parents have a vision or a view of the path that their child should take, like the dreams that they have for them. Do you feel like your family was really supportive and that's what helped you to move forward with your dreams?
My mother was supportive. My father thought I should be a school teacher or a bank teller or an airline stewardess. In those days, it was called airline stewardess. Yeah. And I should get a job and, have a solid income. The arts, he poo-pooed everything that I did. Unfortunately, we didn't have rock stars then because they were making millions of dollars. I think if he would have seen that then, he would have had a different approach. But it was all very academic. And I was a terrible student because I was a creative type. And I learned visually. I discovered that much later, that I was a visual learner. I could not learn by somebody telling me, do this, do that. I had to see it. I had to and not so much visual reading. It was more visual and experiential. So I should have gone to a Waldorf school or a Montessori school, because that's how they teach. But, in those days, so my father did not support my creativity. My mother did. because my mother was a speech teacher before she got married, and she's a children's theater director. And so she sort of lived through me vicariously. Because after I moved to I can talk about this now because she's not with us anymore. But after I moved to New York, of course, she moved to New York too. With the excuse that she came to help me take care of my first child. But that wasn't, I mean, that was part of it, I think.
Yeah.
But she was, you know, she was very supportive, yes.
I love that, because I think that support is so important. You know, we kind of have seen both things on this show where people have had no support at all, and that's why they push forward and have these big breakthroughs in their lives, because they kind of have that rebel within them that's like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, I'm definitely a rebel. Yeah. I'm a very heavy duty water sign. I'm a Pisces. And I have 4 planets in Pisces, but I shouldn't have said that so loud. That's the side of me. I have Mars in Aries, so I am a classic rebel. I just barrel through, and you know. So anyway, that's very funny you should say that. Yes.
Well, I mean, we know a little bit in our house about being the rebel. Me and all 6 of my children are air signs.
Oh no. Oh my goodness. Oh
my husband is a Taurus.
Thank God. He grounds it.
He is the rock, literally.
Oh, please. Oh my God. How does he stand it? The poor man.
I think it's a beautiful thing though, because he's so incredibly grounded that I feel like, and he's been that way, and very headstrong and very stubborn and very, you know, just one, you know, that rock. And I think that it really has taken us to be like, hey, just loosen up a little bit.
Yeah. You help him lighten up. You help him lighten up.
Yeah, and he brings us back to earth when we're flying up in the clouds somewhere.
Exactly. What a match made in heaven, as they say.
It's fun around here. It can get a little crazy, but it's fun.
I bet. Oh my God.
So you really got into, I want to talk to you about your book as well, because I mentioned that you came out with, you were a photographer, and also got into working with did you always communicate with angels? Was that always, or did that come later on?
You know, that's very funny, because I think I must have as a child, but I didn't know it, because people have asked me that before. But I was, you know, because I'm a heavy duty water sign, I was always a dreamy child. I got in trouble in school, you know, for not looking out the window and not focusing and concentrating. So I think I was communicating with them and didn't know it, because it comes very easy to me and natural to me. And so when a very close friend of mine who's a very excellent channel and a healer, she said, you know, you've got to start channeling the angels. I said, no, because I said, it's so hokey. I said, it's what I do. She said, yeah, but you need to do it for other people. And so it's one of those things that, and maybe some people in your audience will understand this for themselves. When something is easy for us, we don't think it's important.
Right.
I'm gonna cry now. We think it's not essential, and nobody really wants to do that. And it's kind of, as I said, hokey, and it's kind of a psychic fair kind of thing. What people do, it's a terrible thing to say, but so that's how I approached it, because I was photographing angel architecture for a very long time, because architecture was my main love in photography. That's why I stayed in New York City, because the architecture in New York City is just, you know, it's heaven.
Yeah.
Yes. It's heaven on earth. I mean, as you know from being around here. And I've tried to live in other places, and I go to other places and say, oh, it'd be wonderful to live here in Scotland or to live in London. I come back to New York and say, nothing like New York. And I love the countryside. I love nature. But there's something about New York City, and it's the architecture. If the architecture wasn't here, I couldn't be here. So I was always going around photographing windows and doors and columns, you know, pieces of things. And I just started photographing angels. And I think, to answer your question, I think the fact that I am in communication with angels all the time and didn't know it. I think that's why I was attracted to the angel statues, because the statues that I have photographed that you've seen some of them are in major public places, and people say, where is that angel? I've never seen that angel. And I say, and this one, I said, it's in Columbus Circle. It's the heaviest trafficked area of New York City practically.
Yeah.
And they'll say, no, there's an angel there? Yes.
Isn't that such a metaphor for life, though, of these angels are all around us, and spirit is all around us and within us, and we are just not acknowledging, like we don't see it, we're not aware, we're not acknowledging it. It's such a metaphor for actual life.
Totally. And the other thing is the metaphor is that angels, oh, this gives me another chill. Angels, now, you know, I always have to look up because it gives me chills. They're here in this room, of course. They're here in your room. They're here in everybody's room. Angels are all around us all the time, just like the energy and just visually, but energetically. I mean, they're physical angels, you know, around us. But they're not allowed to come forward unless we ask, unless we say, I need you, you know, help me. I need help with this thing. And because it's a universal law. The interesting thing is, and I didn't know this until I took a year-long course on higher spirituality, that there are there are laws of the universe, that the universe is run by, and angels are part of that. And so it's fascinating. So if anybody wants help from an angel, don't think that they're going to just, you know, do it for you. You have to say, please, I need you. I need help for this. I need help for that. And that's one of the things that I do teach with my angel cards. But yeah, they are all around, just like life, you know, we need to reach out.
Yeah. So the book has photos of angels that you've taken around New York. And what else is in the book to go along with those photos?
So in the book, so I'll hold up the book.
Show and tell. Yes.
Show and tell.
Yes.
All right, so that's the back of an angel. It's the angel wings, and it was a mistake.
Oh.
I was taking it with infrared film, and it came out like a regular black and white. And I took the back because the angel was so large, and it was in a small chapel, and I couldn't get far enough back to take the front of it, so I took the back. And so, but this is the back of the book.
Oh, so beautiful.
This is just one of the most exquisite angels. She's about 12 years old, and she's a baptismal fount, and she's standing on a platform, but she's looking down because she's holding a shell, a beautiful giant shell. And so in this church, they used it for baptismal water. It's just exquisite. And it was done by a very famous artist who happened at the time when I did the research. This was what I loved about this book. This brought me joy, the research. This woman that sculpted this angel, her name was Elsie Ward, and it turned out that she lived 2 blocks away from me, where I live now, when she was alive.
Oh my gosh.
I know, and I pass her building all the time. She lived on 18th Street and 18th and Irving Place. But so in this book, let me get one that's not religious, because here's one that is definitely not religious. This is by Salvador Dali. It's a little eerie, but let me see if I can get it.
Oh yes, I remember seeing that one at first, going, that's a very different take on an angel.
On an angel, yes. And so and that's the male angel, and that's the surreal angel. And this was his counterpart.
Oh yes.
Female, and she's Cubist. But the female wasn't difficult to photograph, but the male was difficult to photograph because I wanted to photograph his face, which was that angle, and it felt very dark and sinister. And I had to stop several times, but I wanted to photograph them because they were just so spectacular. And a friend of mine, they were black bronze, but a friend of mine does a special solution with printing, and he printed them for me. So they're silver, so it makes them that very ethereal, spacey kind of thing. And so with each angel, there's a story. There's a historical story. It's either, and so it's on a page, you know, like this. And so that was the research. So some of the stories are about that particular angel, if it was an archangel, you know, a known archangel, or if it was a famous angel like the Bethesda fountain, which is very famous. And I'm not going to show you that one because it's too hard to find because I have it on my card. So this is the Bethesda fountain angel that was very, very famous, and she's on top of a fountain, and she's been in movies and TV shows, and she's very famous because she was commissioned to be sculpted to commemorate a new reservoir for New York City when they had a cholera epidemic, and thousands and thousands, and I think it was 330,000 people died in the 1800s. And that's nothing now, of course, but for then that was a really big deal. And they found out the cholera was being held in the water, and so they had to make this new reservoir upstate New York. And so this gorgeous fountain, and in Central Park now, it's the epicenter of New York. I mean, people go there, and this particular fountain on the weekends, and they hang out, and they have theater shows, and they have dance, and they have dinner parties I mean, it's really a very special place. But it's got this angel. And we did a friend of mine did an interview there talking about angels around the fountain, and she was asking people if they knew that there was this angel there, and did they come for the angel? They said, no, we just come here because we like the energy. And so she started educating people about angels. So angels have a really important place on our planet. And I don't think enough, and you don't have to believe in God or even believe in angels, because they do exist. And it's just, they're sort of part of the universe, and they help us keep everything together. And a lot of people don't believe in a lot of the planetary things that are being talked about, but I've been listening to some of the more advanced people on some of the YouTube stations, and we may, by the time this show is aired, we may have already reached this point, but a lot of the galactic beings and light beings are here to help us, and they are really coming down even in full force now in this year 2020.
I want to ask you, because when we go through things, that are difficult times, whether it's just one of us or whether it's a large group of us, there are many people who are not believers, and even those that will say, how could there possibly be around us when all of this bad stuff is going on, and we're sitting here saying we need help and we're not getting help? Like, what do you say to that kind of comment?
Well, I had the same issues. I mean, I often say the same thing, and yet I know, and I've read, and I've been told, and I believe. Number one, we have free choice. Number two, I mean, everyone has free choice. And number two, what's going on the planet when we have bad things happen, or when bad things happen to loved ones, it's a process. And the planet Earth right now is in an ascension process. And I actually have a class. I have a class that's called Angels, Ascension, and You. And the planet Earth has ascended. Now, a lot of people aren't going to believe this because we're still having, issues. But we have to work through the dark stuff to get to the light. And if people listen to any of the healers or any of the the great spiritual teachers, that's the great mantra, or the lesson is, and in any kind of healing, you have to work through the dark or the shadow part of your life, and then you bring in the light. I do what is called core energetics, which is a form of bioenergetics, which is a way to release energy through movement and therapy. But it's not talking, it's a little bit of talking therapy, but it's movement and exercises, and people know that with the batting and the tennis racket on cushions, and getting rid of anger that you're not angry at somebody, but just the anger in your body. So that's our shadow side. So we have to get rid of that. But in what I do is, when I work with people that way, I don't do it that much anymore. There's no need for it, that I have found. Then I bring in the healing light, because we have to release, we release, and then we bring down this amazing light to fill up the space where it's been released. Because in a lot of therapy, it's just talking, and you regurgitate. And that's why it takes so long sometimes with talking therapy. But with the more advanced stuff, and with music therapy, these more advanced creative forms, they go in there and they go into the being 360 degrees to take the vibration and the frequency to bring out the dark stuff, so that you hold the frequency. I've never actually described it that way. So thank you for asking. But that is what happens.
Yeah.
That is what happens, especially with the music and the arts, because we are not in our mind. And so back to your question, these bad things that happen. So some of it's karma, and a lot of people don't understand karma or know about karma, but it's like, and some of it, before I speak about the karma, some of it is we've made. Now, this is hard for some people to understand,
right?
But I will say it. When we come to this planet, when we are born, when we incarnate, we've made a contract. But when we come in, when I don't remember anything of my past. None of us do, because that's part of our contract. Right. And this is definitely spiritual. It is not against God. It's not against anything. This is part of God. God is everything. You can be an atheist and you don't have to believe this. But when we come in, we decide what it is we want to learn in this lifetime. We choose our parents. We choose our environment, how we want to do it. And some of us have to work on relationships, have terrible time with relationships. Some people have terrible time with money. Some people have terrible time with career. So they're constantly honing that and working that. And that's because we've come in to work out something. So that's why some of us have a hard time with certain things. Bad things happen. Like there is a book called Bad Things Happen to Good People. But it's because, and this is really the hard part, it's because we've come in to work through that and to work through the other side. And that's where astrology can help a lot of people. I don't do astrology, but astrology can help a lot of people see that patterning, because astrology is very mathematical, and it maps things for you. And if you'll notice, there are some people that have great drama in their lives, and other people have really easy lives. And you say, well, why is that? So it's a lot about the contracts. It's a lot about our beliefs, what we've been taught. In our culture, it's much better to suffer. You're much more easily to go to heaven if you've suffered a lot. You know, that's a belief, and it's not necessarily true. So it's a very layered question. So 5 shows on that one question.
I know. It's good though, because it's so nice to be able to have this kind of conversation, because it can be, I think just as you're saying that there are contracts there, you know, I think those of us who are kind of like fixers, we want to, we feel like we're here to change something, to save the world, quote unquote. And doing that in whatever way that we do it, it can be hard when we feel like we're talking to someone and they get angry at us, or they just don't want to hear it, or they don't want to change their lives. And we're going, but why? If we're telling you the truth, like, why would you not want to change things? And so to have to be able to step back, I think that's been such a huge part of my journey the last 10 years, to just take a breath and step back and say, this might not be their part of what they're here for. You know, and it's a hard thing, because especially if it's a loved one and you just want them to be well and happy and all of that. And then they're saying, but that's, you know, I don't like what you're saying. I can't hear you, you know. It can be hard to say, okay, that's your journey.
You know, there's a wonderful old expression. It's really an old one. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it. I'm paraphrasing it. Yeah. And I have to remember that. I have two daughters, two adult daughters. And one's very, very sophisticated spiritually, and one follows a definite religion. And at one time, she was very fascinated by the things that I did, and I would do healings on her, and she loved it. But she said, do not talk to me about anything about any of that anymore. I don't want to hear it. And I have to respect that.
Right.
And, you know, because she's following a different path. And the thing is, there are many paths, and they lead to one place. There's a wonderful ashram in, outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. You may have heard of it, being in the South. It's in Yogaville, and I guess that's still in Virginia. Yogaville is right outside of Charlottesville, and it was built by an Indian guru named Swami Satchidananda. He was very famous. He was brought over here by Peter Max. He was brought to the United States, and he created a yoga practice called integral yoga. They have a fabulous health food store and an ashram in the city, and have meditations on Friday night and Saturday, and wonderful stuff. But he built this lotus temple. It's round, and on the bottom is a museum of all the different religions, and on the top floor is this incredible light. A column in the center is like an umbrella, and it has like umbrella spires that go out. And at the end of each spire is a little cabinet, and in this cabinet, it has all of the precious artifacts of every world religion.
Wow.
And the motto in this temple is called, there are many paths to one place, or to one God. I can't quite remember what it says, but there are many paths, and he's showing all the many paths, and holding that is very sacred, all the many paths. And when I come up with anybody that doesn't want to hear and questions my authority or my whatever, I remind them of that's fine. You know, you don't have to. Yeah. And even in healing, you don't have to believe in a God or any God to have healing energy work on you. Right. So that really was comforting when I learned that, because it's an energy. It's there for everyone, and it can be channeled through them. So
I love that. And another thing, while we're talking about energy and being channeled, you mentioned in when I asked you about Joy about crystal bowls.
Yeah.
And we talked for a minute before we recorded today about music's always been such a big part of my life, and I think sound. And when you were telling your story about, you know, being in touch with the angels and just not really, I guess, when you don't realize the importance of it, you just present it in a different way. And that's how music was for me. I think when I wanted to go to school to be a music therapist, and at the time I just didn't I had always done music. It was just part of who I was. It was just part of what I did. And I didn't see or grasp the importance of it then. But it's continued to be something that I think about, going, gosh, if I would have gone down that path, kind of thing. And so now, when I really started having my I guess my own spiritual awakening, all that, I started getting more and more back into music and sound, and learned about the singing bowls and things like that. And it really is a place that you can just bask in the vibration of the sound and be completely transported or transformed even. And so tell us about what that experience of playing the bowls for yourself and for other people has been like for you.
Oh, well, it's another 3 hours. Because I also do sound baths for, many people, not that many, small sound baths. And people just go to places that, totally they've never been before, when in like dream state. And I now do full out private sound baths on people, because I call them sonic bliss, because they literally bliss out. I mean, they wake up from the table, because they're not really asleep. They wake up from the table and they say, this has just been an amazing experience. I mean, they can hardly speak or move. And I'm telling you that because just to demonstrate, because it's one thing to tell you what the bowl is out, but
I'm kicking myself that I didn't ask you to play for us today.
That's okay. But it does. I've got to get special mics for them, because to have that real crystal bowl sensation, it's really. People can go buy a couple of CD, or you can listen to them on some CD. Stephen Halpern is a really great musician who's done crystal bowls. He's the best for now, until I make my recording. Yeah. But anyway. When I play, I got to chill again. When I play a crystal bowl, now this is a very beautiful, wonderful sphere crystal. So the crystal bowls are made of these crystals, but they're made of the quartz crystal. This is a very beautiful quartz crystal.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
I know, this is a master crystal. This is my channeling crystal. I have a friend who gets me the most amazing specimens for things that I need. But anyway, and so it sits on a very beautiful silk cushion here. So the crystal bowls are made out of those crystals. It's ground up, but the ones that I play are called Alchemy crystal bowls. They have precious and semi-precious stones, ruby, diamond, emerald, and then some of them I have are minerals. So when I play that bowl, let's just say if I play a ruby bowl, I'm activating the ruby healing essence within me. But it also, because our bodies are made of silica, our bones, our nails, our eyes, some of our silica's in our skin. It's a very high percentage of silica that's in our body. Crystals are almost all silica. So when you play a crystal bowl, it's more important when you play it rather than if you're listening, you get it. If you're playing it, you get the hit closer to you. So when I play that bowl, it's almost like making music with my own body. So when you play a crystal bowl, it has a resonance. Well, they call it there was a medical doctor who did a lot of work with this. They call it entrainment, because the vibration of the crystal bowl resonates at the same vibration. Oh, I just got this. It resonates at the same vibration as my body or as your body. That's why people literally swoon. They go, oh. I mean, it's an amazing. I can play a crystal bowl, same bowl. I did this for a while because I only had one crystal bowl. I could play the same crystal bowl. It's the same sound. It doesn't change its tone. It it has no octaves within one bowl. But I have to tell you, I can play that same bowl every day, a couple of times a day, and I will have different experiences. And they were actually created originally to help people meditate, to help to get them into a meditative state, because that's really what they do. But now they've amped it up so much. Not really amped it up. That's a bad word to use. They've really enhanced them much better. They've really enhanced them so that they're the pure quartz crystal with these other gemstones, and they make all these other mixes, like there's diamond and ruby and gold mixed together. I mean, I have a solid gold. It's not a solid gold. It's crystal, quartz crystal, and then it's gold is poured over it. It's a watered down gold. It's not 14 karat. Well, maybe it is 14 karat, but it's not higher than that. But anyway, so that when I play my gold bowl, I'm getting the essence of gold within my body. And gold is a very, very strong, high healing power. Now, the other thing that's really crucial for people to know, this is my passion, is that, so the key thing with crystal bowls is they raise your frequency. And the major thing for all of us on the planet, especially in 2020, this is when we're recording, this is in 2020.
Yes.
So this is 5 years later. This is a time capsule here, so you know what's going on. We have to raise our frequency so that we can lift up our being to match the planet. The planet has risen. It's gone into a higher spiritual frequency, and humankind, womankind is not there yet, because we got a lot of stuff, got a lot of baggage, and that's why a lot of stuff is coming up this year, like big time. If any of you have noticed, I don't think anyone living in 2020 cannot notice that a lot of stuff came up this year.
Yeah.
So raising your frequency is mandatory, essential, mandatory. So that's the beauty of crystal bowls. They raise your frequency without you having to do anything, which is like, oh, thank God, thank you very much. And the other thing with crystal bowls is which I didn't know until maybe just a couple of years ago. The man who makes the crystal bowls, who turned out to be a friend of mine, there were two men, and they're both friends of mine, and the whole staff, all that. But they told me that crystal bowls have the same frequency, most crystal bowls, most of them, have the same frequency as the angels, as the angelic realm. So when you play crystal bowls, I don't know about Tibetan bowls because that's a different frequency.
That's what I was going to ask you. What's the difference between the Tibetan bowls and the crystal ones?
The Tibetan bowls are masculine energy, because we need masculine energy, right. and the crystal bowls are feminine, and they carry a different frequency, and we need both. And I've played my crystal bowls with Tibetan bowls. I mean,
I bet that's beautiful.
And it's gorgeous because it brings in those different frequencies, and it's just it's this amazing orchestra. Because that's the one thing that I've always dreamed of, and I do it just a little bit, because I don't have that many friends that are near me that we can get together. But I do have a music therapist friend, and she plays other instruments, and she plays crystal bowls. So when I do events, when I can get my friend Basha to come, we play together. And so my idea is to have an orchestra, so of many people playing the crystal bowls. So because then the different bowls can be played at the same time, because you only have two hands. So when they're all playing, it's just.
Can you just invite me out when you're ready, and I'll come do it. I'll be a part of it with you.
Yes. Oh, definitely, definitely, absolutely. I have a dream. I mean, I don't know if anyone knows your audience, but the Metropolitan Museum of Art on Fifth Avenue has a temple, an Egyptian temple. I think it's the Temple of Dendra. I think that's what it is. It's the actual piece that was shipped over, and it's the most magnificent space. It's huge. It's my magnificent. what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I can't think of it, but whatever that magnitude of the room is. And then with this, a wall, not a skylight, but a wall of glass to the Central Park. I mean, it's an amazing place. And my dream is to have a crystal bowl concert there.
Oh,
many crystal bowls.
gosh. I hope that by the time you do that, everybody's back to flying and traveling and all of that.
God, yeah, the museum's not even open now. But yes, it's really, because crystal bowls, they are otherworldly. And lots of times when I'm writing my promotional pieces or just talk, because I sometimes write emails as educational things for people so they can understand stuff a little bit better. And I will always be calling them otherworldly, because they are. I mean, they take us to other worlds, they feel otherworldly, and they bring us visions of otherworldly.
I love that. Oh my gosh, we could just sit here and talk about crystal balls all day. And then I'd make you go get one and then play it anyway, even though it doesn't come across right. I love it. So I know that you're working on many different things in your life and in your business. And I know that by the time this comes out, you may have certain things out and certain things you're still working on, but tell everybody a little bit about what you're working on so that they get an idea of the kind of offerings that you're working on.
Yeah. By the time this is aired, I think is in August, my cards, which are in production.
Yay.
This is the beautiful box, and it's a fabulous box because it lifts. This is a sample box. It lifts. They haven't gone to print yet, so by August they should be printing, because we're raising the money for them. And so, as I showed you before, let me pull out a different one because the back is. Hold on a second. So there's going to be 54 cards. These are all blanks, dummies. But I had some of them printed in just the local print shop, the local Kinko's. So the backs, so this is all the backs have the same. So they're like tarot cards, but they're wisdom cards.
Right.
And I hope that these will be out for Christmas. I hope to have them by November. So this is the back on all the cards. And then you turn the card over and there's this image. Now these are all architectural. And so I had this wonderful graphic artist who made all this cloud work around the angels. And then there's the titles, and this is the angel of release. And then below here is a quote from her. So each angel, when I was making up the content, the text on them, I channeled each angel. I spoke to each angel. I said, okay, what's this? And I did it in one evening, and it was talk about joy. It was so much fun because I didn't have to sit there and say, now what, I wonder what's this one. I just went to the angels, and I on my computer, because I had all the images, of course, I just said, okay, and I would talk to the angel, what would you like to say? And it just rolled right out. Of course, it had to be edited a little because of the space and that kind of thing. But so that's the angel of release. This one's a beautiful angel. This is, she's very motherly. She's the angel of your loving self. And so now her title is in kind of a brick colored red. And so there's a section that the titles are in red, and those are the higher energy angels. Then there's angels that are in blue, and they're the regular workaday angels. Then there are the archangels, and they're in gold. I don't know if I have an archangel. I thought I did. This is a really wonderful one. This was one of the New York angels in the book.
Oh yes, I remember seeing that one.
Yeah, it's just really, and that's actually a living artist did that. It's copper. But so these are called the Angels Speak. And so it's this wonderful deck of 54 cards, and they're wisdom cards, and you would pull a card every day. That's why I wanted this box, so that it's my, you can see it's my passion. I'm madly in love with it. So that you can every day you can just lift a card out.
Yeah.
They just and they wait for you. And it's a metaphor that angels fly. It's kind of but they called Angels Speak. And when the cards come out, I'm going to do a class with them. to help people know how to use the cards, and it'll be in several layers. That it'll be just to learn how to talk to the particular cards, and to get messages, and to ask questions. And then there'll be a higher level that if you want to learn how to dialogue with angels, not necessarily the cards. So it's a lot of fun. But I'm also teaching now because the cards aren't out. So the angels were really, I mean, I kept getting this taps on the literally, I felt physical, that these angels said, we want to go to work. We want to do this. So I created this class called Angels, Ascension, and You. It's an ongoing class, and it's several levels, 1, 2, and 3. And the first level each one is 6 weeks. The first level is healing your challenges, because in order to ascend, we have to be able to not let our challenges run our life. And I'm sure you know that with 6 children.
I would be run over.
Exactly. We have to really just take them as matter of fact and deal with it, and not go into the drama of things, because it's as human beings on planet Earth, that's sort of what the training has been, that challenges are drama, but it doesn't have to be that way. And so the angels are, oh my God, the meditations that the angels give are just, I mean, they touch me. So it's really a lot of fun, and people we're getting, because I've had a couple of the classes already, and people were getting rid of the drama, I should say, of their challenges right in the class. They said, this one said, oh my God, I got it. I know. And it was just, and it came from the meditation, after the meditation. Yeah. So we do wonderful games with it, and we use creativity, and we watch movies having to do with people manifesting and how they change their beliefs, because everything is about our beliefs, and we can change them. And because most of our, I guess all of our beliefs are really learned. Right. So we can relearn, we can have different beliefs. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah. And then we're expanded, and our frequency has been raised, and we don't get sick, which is the big payoff. When we have a higher frequency, and when there's pandemics going on, or in the winter when there's colds, or when, whatever, if you can keep your frequency up, you will be fine. Your frequency and your immune system, they kind of go together. Yeah. So you're keeping a high frequency really keeps your immune system. And there's that old thing about keeping your spirits up. Well, it's that, but we've now upgraded, because we've got to bring that frequency up to higher levels, because we're going into the Aquarian age. It starts at the end of this year, which I didn't know until like
it's my time.
Are you an Aquarian?
I am.
I have an Aquarian moon, so I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm an Aquarius sun and moon.
Oh my goodness. Oh, whoa.
It's really the time for me. I don't know how yet, but we're going to figure that out.
Well, you're going to make it. You're going to be a leader in this, because we need Aquarians to show the way, to be able to have that outlook, that Aquarian outlook. And that's great. You're a great teacher for this. Yeah.
I'm sure going to try. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm ahead of the class, and I feel like really in that leadership, like I'm moving forward, and then other times I'm like, I'm just drowning right along with all of you guys.
Right, because you're an Aquarian, and you're not used to the kind of energy that you have to live through here.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Well, Sylvia, I could sit, literally, and talk to you forever. I love the things that you're doing in your life and teaching, and I loved hearing you talk about how the cards came about, because that's how my cards were born. I came out with cards last year, and I had a dream about these cards, and I woke up, and within 24 hours, I had written the whole thing and painted all the images for the. And it was just that magical, like it just.
You actually painted them, your own images.
I did. And it wasn't like, they're not, I look at them now and I think these polished, perfect, graphically designed cards that you see, put out by Hay House and all their amazing sales. But they were born in here, and they were just born. They're part of who I am, and I think that's how though, that, and it seems like that throughout your story as well, about throughout your life, that it's easy and it just comes out and it flows when it's supposed to be
exactly
that way.
When you're in flow, not you, but when we are in flow, things are easy. It's when we push it, or when we, and some of the really great spiritual teachers talk about this. When you try to push something that's not in the right timing, if you notice, it doesn't happen.
Right.
And so by staying in the flow and being with the flow, like it's taken a long time, because these cards have been ready to go to the printer for, several months, but I had to use the money for family emergency. So, we divine timing. So whatever that's about, we'll know, maybe these are probably supposed to come out for the end of this year rather than the end of last year, whatever. So being in the flow is all it's about. And I guess that would be the best message that we could give the audience about being, and when they feel like that something's not happening, to ask themselves, am I pushing this? Because sometimes we want it now.
Right.
Am I pushing this? And what is the project, or what is the it wanting from me? Which is, it's a hard one for human beings.
Yeah.
Because we want it yesterday.
Especially even now in this time frame when everything is about that immediate gratification. Like, somebody, you post something on social media and someone likes it, and it's like, it's that immediate answer and response. Where I was talking to my kids about, when I was little, and we didn't have cell phones and things like that. And so we would go out, and then we would have to put, if we needed to call home, there was a pay phone, and we have to put a quarter in it. And they could not understand why you had to put a quarter in it. I said, that phones are paid for.
That's so funny.
It's funny. Well, Sylvia, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing about your life with us and about what you're doing now. And thank you so much. I've had such an experience of gratitude with all of the interviews this season, and just what a privilege to connect with people that are really truly trying to help this planet in whatever way that they feel aligned with. And thank you so much for that work that you do in the world.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's been such a pleasure to be with you. I loved our conversation. One thing that I forgot, though, is my website.
Yes.
Which is I love my website, because I have some very talented people who've done practically the whole website as a gift to me. So it's like, I'm just so moved. And my website is sylviamoth.com. And the banner of it, I did the photograph of the banner, but the title is Raise Your Frequency, Transform Your Life. And that's really what this work is all about. I mean, I think that's what everybody's work is, but it's sylviamoth.com. And all of this stuff, the book is on there. The cards are on there. You can see more pictures, and you can read about the angels. I have a whole page on a letter to the angels, or from the angels. I can't remember what it is now, but it's a lot of fun website.
Yes, make sure you guys visit sylviamoss.com, and we will, of course, have all of Sylvia's links in the show notes so that you can click on them and go right to visit with Sylvia on social media and on her website as well. And thank you so much again, Sylvia, for being with me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I loved it.
All right, guys. So make sure, like I said, that you check out all of Sylvia's links in the show notes, and we'll be back in a minute for more of The Breakthrough Show. We hope you've been enjoying The Breakthrough Show. If you're someone who is an inspirational entertainer or has an incredible story of breakthrough, we want to hear from you and maybe even have you on the show. Be sure to visit the links in our show notes to send us an email or connect with us on social media. We hope to see you on a future episode of the show. And now back to The Breakthrough. Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. We're so thankful for the time we got to spend with Sylvia Moss today. She was absolutely amazing. But we're back now with our guest, returning guest, Katarzyna Stomska. Kat, I'm so excited to have you back here, as I said in the beginning. And you have a big announcement for us today. Will you share with us what you have going on in your life?
Yes, I'm very happy to say that I am going to be publishing my very first book. It's a poetry book, and it will be, it will be live very, very soon. So
we're so excited. We're so excited for you, because we were talking about earlier in the show what creativity means to you. And tell us a little bit about what your book, Poems with Soul, is and is about.
Mm-hmm. So Poems with Soul is a collection of poems I have written throughout different stages of my life. Some of those poems have been, I've been teasing my audience, teasing those who follow me on social media throughout various forms, but they are just very little sneak peeks. They show different styles of poetry, and each and every poem in that book means something and reflects an experience or emotion I felt in certain circumstances or in certain ways in my life. And I'm hoping by that book that there will be a few people who will actually be able to relate and get inspired by self-expressing and accept that self-expression doesn't necessarily mean that you dress in a certain way or that you do something physical, but it is more also in a creative way, and that could be also through poetry. Because what I love about poetry is the fact that you can, there is no order needed in poetry. You don't have to worry about misspelling. You can just let your pen, or your keyboard, the keys on the keyboard take you, and it brings relief a lot of the time. But I'm excited.
Well, we're so excited for you, because I know that I believe on the last time you were on the show, you talked about wanting to be a published author and possibly working on that. So it's so exciting to have you back and see that come to fruition in your life. You're going to read a poem for us today.
Yeah.
It's called If Walls Could Talk. I know that so many people are going to be able to relate to so many poems in this book, especially this one. So here to read to us her poem, If Walls Could Talk, from Poems with Soul, here is Kat Stomska.
If walls could talk, my tears painted over your wounds. If the walls could talk, my touch crumbling the tower of your blame. If the walls could talk, my voice overwhelming the stars. If the walls could talk, my memories squeezed into every piece of emptiness. If the walls could talk, my body turning into a wandering dust. If the walls could talk, no longer hiding, no longer forgotten, alive. If the walls could talk.
Oh, I love it. There's so much. I follow you on social media because I know you, and so I've had the pleasure of reading so many of your poems, and like I said, I think so many people are going to be moved by your words and be able to relate to your words, and as we said in the beginning, when we're able to create and inspire by our creativity and what we put out there, it is such a moving and humbling experience. And I wish you the absolute best with this book. I'm really excited for you, Kat.
Okay, thank you. It's really a pleasure. And part of the inspiration for that book was also being surrounded by people like you who never kind of doubted in me, despite the times when I maybe wasn't even considering I could do it. And I think it's the best testimony to that, sometimes to the fact that sometimes you just need the inspiration over and over and over and over again before something clicks in a way. But that inspiration doesn't necessarily have to come from the same source. So to me, and I'm a very nostalgic very nostalgic person, especially when I get those so-called those days, and I kind of go back to the music which allowed me or reminds me on the times when I either struggled so much and I finally remember where I came from, or on the other hand, a music which is kind of very upbeat and it actually moves me to action. So.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for allowing your creativity to shine and putting these out there, these words out there for other people to have that inspiration in their lives. That's what breakthroughs are all about, is about having them and then sharing them and putting it out there for other people to be able to relate to as well. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing, Kat.
And thank you very much for allowing me the space to actually share my creativity and inspiring me by the inspiring stories.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it's been an amazing show today. I want to give a huge thank you to our returning guest, Kat Stomska. Be sure to check the show notes and get your hands on your copy of Poems with Soul. You don't want to miss the If Walls Could Talk poem and so many more. Also, be sure to check out the show notes for Sylvia Moss's book, Angels of New York. Make sure you get your hands on that as well. So you have 2 books to buy after this show. Special thank you to our guest today, Sylvia Moss. Thank you so much for being here. Also coming up next week on The Breakthrough, we're going to be talking to our new friend, Dan Mendelo. He's got some incredible breakthrough moments that he has experienced in his life, and we're really excited to welcome him into the Breakthrough family, so don't miss it. Until next week, guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. Please take a moment to rate, subscribe, comment, and share where available, and make today a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com. And be sure to join our After the Breakthrough community powered by Patreon. We look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place for another inspiring episode.